Build Back Better. What is going on? What are some major things that you saw in the legislation?
Yes, so I read not the whole thing, because the whole thing is like 900 pages, but what we're interested in, what concerns immigration. So I just wanted to notice this bill just passed the House on the November 18th, right? So it still has to pass the Senate, and it has to be signed by the president after that. So it's not the law yet. Hopefully it's going to pass. Hopefully it's going to work, because it provides a lot of opportunities to different people. So I would like to start with the major thing about this bill is that it proposes for all people who were in the United States who entered before January 1st, 2011. And through visa and overstayed their visa, or they entered without inspection, or was paroled into the United States, all these people can qualify under this act. And what they want to do is to give them parole. This, like, I don't know, Jordan, you can help me with right wording. What is like right explanation for this word? But basically, this is not green card, right? This is just some temporary status. I would say maybe something similar to TPS, temporary protected status, but it's not exactly. That's what it is. But
It's not full status per se. It's this weird thing of saying you could come in and be here temporarily, and it's this weird nebulous concept. It doesn't have. It's not fully status either, because
right,
the term status has certain connotations to it too.
yes,
That
and it has limitations. So it's 5 years for the period of 5 years, or until September 30th, 2031, whichever is faster. And
yeah.
it's not automatic, so people would need still to file an application. There will be fee for that. We don't know yet what the fee gonna be, again, if it becomes the law, right? And security and background checks too have to be completed in order for a person to receive this, to get this parole. So this parole will give employment authorization,
Okay.
so people will be able to work. They will be able to travel. The act does not specify what kind of documents it will. It will be probably, maybe it's going to be some advanced parole,
Yeah.
in order for people to travel outside the United States and come back. We don't know this yet, but employment and travel will be authorized, and the act specifically mentions that all these people will be able to obtain driver license. So
Yeah.
it's a good thing. Good
That's
thing
a
too.
big deal. Now, one thing you note is there's a lot of parts of immigration law that give permission to get driver's licenses. Doesn't always mean the local state DMV will permit that. Sorry if you guys are hearing the dog barking. And then, yeah, parole is this nebulous concept. Probably it'll be an EAD AP combo or something like that, work permit plus travel permission. But it's like
Yes.
a bridge that to go somewhere. Parole is intended to be kind of a bridge, but where's it going to go? We don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't provide any like lawful status or path to
Yeah.
citizenship, or even path to green card. From what I see, it's just gonna give undocumented people right to stay for at least this 5 or more years, because there is it can be extended up until September 30th, 2031, right? And maybe by this time someone will get married, will get their green card through marriage to a citizen, right? Someone
That's
will
the magic.
some
Yeah,
other
sorry. You
immigration.
mentioned I got excited because we do a lot of marriage cases and people need waivers, but if they're going to be considered paroled in, all of a sudden for like U.S. citizen marriage cases, they don't need to do a waiver or consular processing. So that
I
there
think
are
they
some.
still do. I think they still do. There were somewhere they were mentioned about inadmissibility. Yes, that the person is not inadmissible. So good thing you mentioned that. So because a waiver is required when a person is inadmissible. For example, for criminal convictions, certain criminal convictions, right? For certain immigration violations and so on, right?
Yeah,
So for these people, it's not going to be an option. Who needs to get a waiver, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So
Which is maybe 3 or 10 year bar people with those who leave to consular processing. But one thing is, and let me know. I haven't read it myself, so if there's more stuff, let me know. But it's still Senate has to pass it, and as we saw in the last one, they didn't get it through. So even if something does come through, it could look completely different than what's here. and the Senate is its own beast. So we don't know how it's going to come out, but it's important to be aware of this kind of stuff that's happening. It at the very least, work authorization for people is going to be helpful. And one thing you didn't note is the documentation requirement of people who are here before 2011. There's a lot of people who intentionally stay under the radar and avoid getting any paperwork of presence in the United States. For immigration, that becomes a major problem because later on, for deferred action, for if you're in court and you want to get, I think, cancellation removal, withholding removal, these kind of things, you need to show, some consistent presence in the United States or entry on a certain date, even for a thing called 245I. So the documentation requirement of showing physical presence in the United States is something you want to have, and because these regulations pop up, they're always backdated. And if you don't have proof of 2011, as you said, then you're not be able to use these programs.
Right. And I just want to go back to inadmissibility, not all kinds of admissibility, right? The act specifically mentions what kind of admissibility and will work and what kind of will not. So again, we'll not go into great details about it, right? It's not the law yet, but everyone has to be aware of that. And what else I wanted to talk about this act is that it provides for visa recapturing for both
Wow.
yes, for both family visas and employment-based visas. So what is visa recapturing? A lot of visas every year go unused for different kinds of reasons, right? And this act proposes that all visas that were unused from 1992 through fiscal year 2021, they will put them back.
Wow.
Yes. And specifically, the act mentions notwithstanding the numerical limitations. So, as probably a lot of you know, that every year there's only a certain amount of people that can come to the United States, right? So, again, we don't know how it's going to play out, right? But it's a good thing. Around 400,000 visas, including around 220 family visas, were unused during this time that I mentioned, and around 100,000 employment-based visas. So what does it mean in practice? It means that all family preference categories and all employment-based categories, we can see like huge move for them. And a lot of people will be able to immigrate faster to the United States. A lot of people who've been waiting for their green cards in line.
Wow. That's a big move, and I kind of see that part staying because it's, for a lot of people, it kind of makes sense. Now there's the backlog of consular processing, which is slowly opening up. We're seeing, so there's still like people might, the visa bulletin might come current for them, but getting an interview is going to be another story. But especially if they're in the United States, that's a adjustment filing, getting the EAD, and it's very interesting. And I could see that one's at least partially or something moving.
Not
Maybe they
everything
say.
yet. It's not all the good news about this act, because usually people talk like, for example, other immigration attorneys, they talk about the first part, but they don't talk about this. So what else is in this act? Diversity visas, right? So they're talking about the diversity visas here. All people who were not able to get their visas, who were 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021, who are not able to get their visas because of proclamations, because of COVID pandemic restrictions, and so on. And all these people who were unable to receive interviews, but they filed their DS form 260, somehow they might be able to get their visas back. Again, we don't know how it's gonna work, but this is amazing. Like, for these people from 2017, like almost 5 years ago, you already forgot about this green card, right? And now you might still get it. This is like, I hope it's gonna pass. It's gonna give a lot of opportunities to these people, and I hope it's gonna work out well. Another thing I wanted to mention, that this bill also provides an opportunity for those who doesn't want to wait in line for their time to come to immigrate. They can just pay and skip the line, depending on what category is that. For example, for family preference categories, again, I will not go into details, but it's just general information on what's in the act. So there is supplemental fee of $2,500. For EB1A, EB-C, EB2, EB3 categories, it's $5,000. And for EB5, it's $50,000.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Wow.
Yes. So it's a lot of good news, a lot of information.
Although
Um,
I'm always the bearer of bad news. They did pass a law for paying extra for expedited processing of cases or premium processing, which included work permits. And that was
right,
passed a law a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and USCIS still has not implemented it, even though they passed a law. So even though these things pass, they might drag their heels on inputting it. And so,
right.
but at the end of the day, there's so much going on here. It's going to
There is
dramatically
special
alter.
implementing provision in this act, right? And
Oh,
thank
really?
you, John, for reminding me to talk about it, right? So it says that not later than 90 days after the date of the enactment of this section, Department Secretary of Homeland Security shall publish final rules implementing
Wow.
this section. So they thought
Wow.
about that too.
Yeah, they learn from their mistakes. Wow, that's great. So interesting. So that's going to be a good Thanksgiving, Christmas. I mean, I'm not sure when the Senate gets it. They're probably going to take breaks right now for the holidays and stuff, but we'll keep an eye on this and see what happens. Are there any more stuff you want to mention? But it's like, it's
Well,
kind
I
of blown
think,
my mind. Like, oh my God, this
yeah,
is kind of
it's a lot of information. Maybe there's something else to it, right? Again, I didn't read through the whole thing, but what I was able to read through, it's already in and of itself very, very good news for a lot of people, for people who are in the United States, right? For people who are outside of the United States, for example, brothers, sisters, right, of the US citizen who've been waiting for their green card. Now it's it's like 15 years wait, right?
yeah.
So somehow maybe they will be able um, to immigrate faster. Yeah. So
Interesting. For these brother and sister cases, I've had times where people contact me and I say, well, it's 15 years. And they're like, oh, it's too long. But that's the importance of just filing it and getting your place in line because the rules change and things could, move up and you never know. So, and I've had cases where people come to me and like, yeah, 15, 20 years ago, we filed it and we forgot about it. We just got, notices from the National Visa Center to start the case. So it's always good to start these. It seems like a long time and it is a long time. But again, we started about talking about having kids and stuff like that. Time flies. These kids grow up and families grow up. And the great thing about the brother and sister kind of green card case, F4 preference category is, you apply for your brother and sister, but a lot of times they're older. Immigration is not the smoothest thing for them, but they're really doing it for the children so they can leave the countries they're from and get a better education system, a more free society. Frankly, both of us from countries who kind of have lockdowns when it comes to speech and stuff like that. People want to raise their kids in an environment that's more, open to, thought and opportunity, economic opportunity in particular. So these brother and sister cases, file them, and if there's this opportunity to pay some extra money to get it done faster, and that's going to be wonderful.
yes, but this option of skipping the line, right? It's gonna work from what I see, it's gonna work for adjustment of status. It's not
Okay,
gonna work for the like visa processing, at least from what I
makes
see
sense.
now. Maybe something will change, right?
Yeah,
But still,
but it's
it's a
good to
good
just put it
option.
in. Because we had during Trump's time where they're going to take away the brother and sister case and potentially saying if you already had a case pending in the new system we develop, you're going to get extra points. So that's why again, it's like we don't know what's going to happen with the law, but it's better to have a place in line than not because you never know. So it's a fast moving kind of thing. We'll see what the Senate does, and then they're going to change things up. Goes back to the House, and then they have to negotiate things. But we'll be on top of it because it's a game changer. I mean, 2022 could be a whole new world for immigration. The consulates and embassies open up. We have new rules. I mean, a couple years of Biden in there, so their people are coming into USCIS and the State Department as opposed to the Stephen Miller gang, the previous anti-immigration crowd. So there's a lot of things that could change, and pandemic calms down. So thank you for that. That was a good start to the morning. We're recording this. Very interesting kind of stuff.